Between the age of Charlemagne and that of the Crusades, a revolution had taken place among the Spaniards, the Normans, and the French, which gradually extended to the rest of Europe. The service of the infantry was degraded to the plebeians, the cavalry formed the strength of the armies, and the honorable names of miles or soldiers was confined to the gentlemen who served on horseback, and were invested with the character of knighthood. The dukes and counts, who had usurped the rights of sovereignty, divided the provinces among their faithful barons. The barons distributed among their vassals the fiefs and benefices of their jurisdiction, and these military tenants, the peers of each other and of their lord, composed the noble or equestrian order, which disdained to conceive the peasant or the burgher as of the same species with themselves. The dignity of their birth was preserved by pure and equal alliances. Their sons alone could produce 4 quarters or lines of ancestry without spot or reproach, might legally pretend to the honor of knighthood, but the valiant plebeian was sometimes enriched and ennobled by the sword, and became the father of a new race. A single knight could impart, according to his judgment, the character which he received, and the warlike sovereigns of Europe derived more glory from his personal distinction than from the lustre of their diadem. This ceremony, of which some traces might be found in Tactus in the woods of Germany, was in its origin simple and profane. The candidate, after some previous trial, was invested with the sword and spurs, and his cheek or shoulder was touched with a slight bow, as an emblem of the last affront which it was lawful for him to endure. But superstition was mingled with every public and private action of life. In the holy wars, it sanctified the profession of arms, and the order of chivalry was assimilated in its rights and privileges to the sacred order of priesthood. The bath and white garment of the novice were an indecent copy of the regeneration of baptism. His sword, which he offered on the altar, was blessed by the minister of religion. His solemn reception was preceded by fasts and vigils, and he was created a knight in the name of God, of St. George, and of St. Michael the Archangel. He swore to accomplish the duties of his profession. As the champion of God and the ladies, he devoted himself to speak the truth, to maintain the right, to protect the distressed, to practice courtesy, a virtue less familiar to the ancients, to pursue the infidels, to despise the allurements of ease and safety, and to vindicate in every perilous adventure the honor of his character. The abuse of the same spirit provoked the illiterate knight to disdain the arts of industry and peace, to esteem himself the sole judge and avenger of his own injuries, and proudly to neglect the laws of civil society and military discipline. Yet the benefits of this institution, to refrain the temper of barbarians, and to infuse some principles of faith, justice, and humanity, were strongly felt, and have been often observed. The asperity of national prejudice was softened, and the community of religion and arms spread a similar color and generous emulation over the face of Christendom. Abroad, in enterprise and pilgrimage, at home, in marital exercise, the warriors of every country were perpetually associated. An impartial taste must prefer a Gothic tournament to the Olympic games of classic antiquity. Instead of the naked spectacles which corrupted the manners of the Greeks, and banished from the stadium the virgins and matrons, the pompous decorations of the list were crowned with the presence of chaste and high-born beauty, from whose hands the conquerors received the prize of his dexterity and courage. The skill and strength that were exerted in wrestling and boxing bear a distant and doubtful relation to the merit of a soldier. But the tournaments, as they were invented in France, and eagerly adopted both in the East and West, presented a lively image of the business of the field. The single combats, the general skirmish, the defense of a pass or castle, were rehearsed as in actual service, and the contest, both in real and mimic war, were decided by a superior management of the horse and lance. The lance was the proper and particular weapon of the knight. His horse was of a large and heavy breed, but this charger, till he was roused by the approaching danger, was usually led by an attendant. When the long lances were fixed in the rest, the warriors furiously spurred their horses against the foe, and the light cavalry of the Turks and Arabs could seldom stand against the direct and impetuous weight of their charge. Each knight was attended to the field by his faithful squire, a youth of equal birth and similar hope. He was followed by his archers and his men-at-arms, and 4 or 5 and 6 soldiers were computed as the furniture of a completed lance. In the expeditions to the neighboring kingdoms or the Holy Land, the duties of the feudal tender no longer subsisted. The voluntary service of the knights and their followers were either prompted by zeal or attachment, or purchased with rewards and promises, and the numbers of each squadron were measured by the power, the wealth, and the fame of each independent chieftain. They distinguished by his banner, his armorial coat, and his cry of war, and the most ancient families of Europe must seek in these achievements the origin and proof of their nobility.